We are tested on the ability to regurgitate facts and unite essays within concrete time frames in the hopes that this shows how effectively a student has learned. But now we have the internet as a resource, and how we choose to utilize it will make or break the digital literacy needed to not just succeed, but thrive in a world where information is both in physical books and at the input of a question in a search bar.
How efficiently do you think students in today's society are being taught new information?
I think that students are taught a ton of information, valid information. I still think that it's done in an old school method.
I think that schools are pretty far behind when it comes to the kind of technology students should be using based on what's out there.
I feel in some cases the efficiency is there, but it's not uniform. There are too many old methods still being used. I'm guilty of some of them myself. And the rapid change of technology is more rapid than the change in pedagogy.
What are the most important skills a student should learn while in high school?
Well, the curriculum, the standard curriculum that's been studied and shown to be effective, so that's for all subjects. But if I speak specifically about English, the same skills that you needed a long time ago are still needed: speaking, writing, and reading. But there's this new component with technology where you need to be media savvy. You need to know a lot about it, because if you don't know how to use it, it's going to use you.
In my opinion, communication.
Critical thinking, that's pivotal, where students can take in information and interpret it and determine usefulness for themselves and relevance, and then they have to be able to assess that. I mean, that's what critical thinking would be, followed closely by the ability to communicate.
How do you think that technology changes the way students obtain their knowledge?
I don't know if they're obtaining their knowledge through technology. I think they can obtain information faster through technology. Pull your smartphone out and get the answer right away, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's knowledge, that it stays there.
It's immediate. Here's an example. I was going over a treaty in my European history class. I asked a student to pull out his phone, bring up Article 51 of the UN Charter, and he did. In 30 seconds, he had it on his phone. So I didn't have to go on my PowerPoint or my data projector and find it on the internet, even though that's relatively quick as well. I had a student pull it up right there on his phone.
Can newspapers and books stay in a world with online sources of information?
I think they'll stay in a really antique way. I don't think they're going to be the way that we use. I mean, already, newspaper is not the way people get their news anymore, sadly. And same thing with books. Most people find once they get a Kindle, even people who really like the feel and look of books, they find it's just easier.
I want to say yes. I think the usefulness of a Nook or a Kindle or even smartphones is pretty obvious. At least I like to think it is. In my previous example, you can call up information, or you can store books in digital form, and you can have many, many more. And they don't weigh as much as our textbooks. I still believe there's a place for a paper copy. I still feel as though there's something that is deeper when you engage a text, annotate, highlight, put your own notes on it.
Comprehension is determined by standardized, timed tests. Do you think this is effective?
Depending on the subject, yes. For areas where it's about reading comprehension and writing, I think that's different. I don't think those should apply, because that's an individual understanding.
It's not so effective for the media world that kids are going to operate in, but sadly, because I think schools are behind, it's somewhat effective for what people will face when they get to college.
Is testing students for specific answers still valid when the internet is at their fingertips?
Yeah, I think so, because I think students need to learn nowadays to think on their feet and not rely on their smartphones. You have to have information. You have to have knowledge to survive and to be a part of society.
I think they're overall, not necessarily. I think people should really move away from that type of teaching, but I do think it shouldn't disappear altogether, because I still have this feeling that if we lose fact-based kind of teaching entirely, then the facts themselves just become way too fluid for people, and I think we can see anybody who's read George Orwell's 1984 can see it's very dangerous when you get away from reality and facts when it comes to people.
Surfing on the internet sharpens up the mind. Using Google and other internet search engines could exercise the mind in a similar way to crossword puzzles, Sudokus, and brain-training computer games. Studies found that readers and internet surfers both showed increased blood flow in parts of the brain controlling language, reading, vision, and memory. Web users showed increased activity in the parts of the brain dealing with complex reasoning and decision-making when searching the internet. Those with the most internet experience had twice the brain as the rest of the volunteers. Computerized technologies may have physical effects and potential benefits for middle-aged and older adults. Our brains are sensitive and can continue to learn as we grow older. Some researchers believe computer games can improve concentration and prevent memory loss. The digital world doesn't need to overtake or replace the literacy we've been teaching. Instead, it can enhance it and add depth to the skills we can obtain.
Time's up.